You guys, settle in because it's about to be a very long story time. There's going to be a lot of little tabs. So if you're not interested, move on. But this is for me. I want to come back to this video and remember, but here's what's going on. So obviously you guys have noticed the last couple of days, I've been deep in my feelings. I'm going through a lot of stuff. And for some reason in social media right now, 2016 is trending. And I wasn't really paying attention to 2016. I was looking at 2017 because it's a 1 year. Like, this is a 1 year. If you don't care about numerology, whatever, but there's usually themes that repeat in years that are numbered the same. So I was looking at 2017 the other day and I was going through my Snapchat and my memories and I was like, whoa, there's a lot of parallel with like what I know is going to happen this year with like 2017 and what was going on in my life. Well, today my friend Tina goes, girl, 2016 is trending. I was like, oh yeah, I heard. She's like, no, you should go back and look at your photos. You should go back and look at your videos. And I did just that. Now here's the crazy thing, y'all. When I started looking back at 2016 to now, 2026, holy shit. So the reason I want to talk through it is because where I was and who I am now and where I am now, not only are they like night and day difference, but a lot of the things I started in 2016, today I'm able to see the progression. So I'll start with the where I was. So I started 2016 married. I was married to my ex-husband at the time, and it was not a happy relationship. The year started kind of rocky. I had been crying myself to sleep for months. Right before I decided to get divorced, which was around like March, April, I had been crying for 6 months. And it was one of those that it was like, what is going on? Something is wrong. Something has to change. We don't have to get into the specifics of that, but basically in 2016 was the year that I decided I am going to get a divorce. And there was so much fear around that because I had no idea who I was going to be on the other side of that decision. So to give you some context, in 2016, in February at the end, I got laid off from my job at the time. Had never been fired in my life, but this layoff led to me coming home, which led to a conversation, which led to my divorce. So at the time, oh my God, my life is falling apart. I'm losing my job. I'm losing my marriage. I don't know who I am. I was alone in Texas. I didn't know what I was going to do, who I was going to be. And I was so stressed about being a divorcee and being 26 and being like, who am I now, right? Last year, I got laid off. Literally barely felt it. Literally landed into the most amazing opportunity of my life. Life is beautiful now, but back then, life altering. So there was a before and an after of like how I started the year being like a wife, and then about Q1 going into Q2, it's like, holy crap, I don't have a husband, I don't have a job, what am I gonna do? So I started working at this new company days after, and I met one of my very best friends, Magali, and we're about to be 10 years in friendship. I really hate that it cuts me off. I wish I could do it all in one route. Anyways, so I met some of my most amazing friends. I started this new job, and through my divorce, there was a lot of grieving. There was a lot of sadness. There was a lot of like, who am I now? And I remember people telling me like, Jordy, what do you like? I don't know. Jordy, what do you want to do with your life? I don't know. Jordy, where are you going? I don't know. So it took me months to really get out of this funk of like, everything is changing. Everything is different. Now the parallel to today, everything in my life is changing. I actually haven't shared with a lot of you guys, but I'm moving to Europe this year. Surprise! I've told a lot of my friends. Some of you guys didn't know, so if you're watching this far, now you know. I'm moving to Europe this summer, and there's a lot of like, my entire life is changing. My family's leaving. They're going to be going to South America. I'm going to Europe. I'm selling my condo. There's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of changes that are happening, very similar to 2016. Now, fast forward, 2016, I started to travel on my own again. There was a lot of like booking trips. And I remember the first trip I took was to Chicago. My brother was living there at the time. And if you've known me enough, you know Chicago is my favorite city in the United States. But I went there, I met up with my family, my best friend Valerie at the time, and it was the best time. And then I cut the bug and I just started traveling more and more and more. And it's funny because this year I will be doing exactly that, just in a completely different way. So again, divorced, new job. I'm traveling a lot. I'm finding myself. Some of my decisions were not the best. You know, I was drinking a lot. I was partying a lot. I was meeting a lot of new people. I was like, I'm single now. What is this like in my 20s? And, you know, I had phases. That was one of those dark phases that it's like, I was trying to find myself. But in the process of doing that, there was a lot of things that like fell apart, but also a lot of really good things that just started in my life. One of those things was I stopped perming my hair, which I know seems minuscule, but in the Dominican, my hair is considered bad. bad hair. Like in the Dominican, they call this pelo malo, bad hair. So I grew up not hating my hair, but thinking that texture and curls were like kinky and gross and that I needed to have straight hair. Well, going through a divorce will have you kind of neglecting yourself. So I stopped perming my hair and it got to about right here. And then one day I just decided, fuck it, I am done. I am done being the old me that was perfect and proper and had perfect hair, and I stopped perming my hair. Fast forward to now, my hair is kind of how you know me. If you know me, you know I have curly hair. Like I love the volume, the curls, the kinkier, the better. Like I love my hair. But back then, it was learning to love myself without the mask, without the straight hair and the perfect pose and not being a wife, and all of these labels were falling away. Like it wasn't Jordy the wife. It was like Jordy is single now. It wasn't, oh my God, I haven't gone on a honeymoon or traveled and been miserable for years. It was, I'm booking the trips that I want to take. I'm going on my own now. It was everything that I had been repressing or holding, or that it was too much or that didn't make sense. I was like, fuck it. Again, not all the best decisions, but my hair, one of the good ones. Another thing that started in 2016 is back then, Snapchat was a thing. I don't know if you guys know, but that's when my story started. So for the people that are like, oh my God, Jordy, you make stories all the time and da-da-da. There was a time that they're like, you're so into yourself. Yo, this was my outlet. When I was grieving my whole life, my divorce, everything was changing. The only way that I knew to cope was to talk to my phone, was to talk to a camera, was to talk to my friends. And after months and months and months of me just doing this, it kind of became a part of my identity, but also a part of me that I love, that makes me so happy to be able to do something like this. This started in 2016. And again, the parallel for me looking back is now that my entire life is about to change again, I can't wait to document all of it. But again, in my brain, I'm just comparing the 2 years and I'm looking through photos, and I'll post some here actually. The first time I wore my hair curly, my friend Magali could attest to this. We were going to a festival and I was so embarrassed. I was crying. I felt so ugly. I was like, people can't see me like this. Like I just felt so disgusting. Yo, my hair is beautiful. But if I could tell me that 10 years ago, I would show her how good it looks, right? But back then, that's all I knew, was to like go inward and self-deprecate and like hate it, right? My identity as a wife, like I was crying myself to sleep for so many months, and I'm like, for what? Like now I work with women like that. But at the time, I didn't have anybody to tell me like, Jordy, you're gonna be okay. And I remember conversations of people, like my hairstylist at the time, D, if you're watching, he used to be like, girl, you got so lucky. You didn't have kids. You got divorced young. You're hot. You're gonna be fine. And at the time I was like, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. But here's the thing, he did, and he was right. And my best years came from that experience. Me going through that divorce, me making all those mistakes, me growing out my hair, me starting my stories, me finding myself, me booking the trip, traveling on my own, moving to a new place. Like I had never lived on my own up until this point in my life. And after my divorce, I had to. Granted, it was a chaotic time. It was like I had to figure it out very fast. But I think the fact that I didn't have time to think, that I just had to act and go through it and like make these new friends and allow myself to be vulnerable. Like the reason Magali and I go so deep is she knew, she was there, she saw me. We talk about it all the time, how I was just a shell of a person. But somehow, some way, she also saw my soul. I didn't have a choice but to bear it all, but to make my videos, but to make these friends, but to let people in, but to take a risk, but to jump on a plane, but to let my hair, like I had to shed everything I thought I needed. And the wild thing to me is looking back at some of these pictures and some of these videos and some of these memories, I'm like, oh, Jordy, if you only knew, like if you only knew how good it was gonna get. And I think this is what I needed to kind of snap me out of this funk, because again, I haven't been sharing a lot because I'm trying to like do it right or pace it or like not have too many people in my pot. But here's the truth. There are a lot of things happening in my life. I mentioned surgery. I've never done that before. I'm having a tooth extraction tomorrow. Not excited about that. I'm leaving the country. I've never lived abroad on my own, ever. I'm doing the digital nomad thing, the research, the planning. I have changed in so many ways and I'm taking so many risks. And again, this is like the icing on the cake. I'm not even sharing the bulk of everything that I'm going through. But when I look back at 2016 me, I am so fucking proud of that girl. I'm so proud of the Jordy that was willing to just follow her gut and say fuck it. And I'll be honest, at the time there was no faith, there was no belief, there was no guarantee that I was going to be okay. I remember having moments where I completely broke down and I'd be crying in my car. I remember having moments where my mom had to get on a bus and come be with me in Texas. I remember having days where like I would get to work and I would sit in my car and I was crying so hard I couldn't make it inside. I remember being afraid for my life. I remember signing the papers for my divorce. But there's also so much good that happened from all of my life falling apart. And again, this is more for me, but I want to share because sometimes we're so afraid to take a risk, to do something different. And I think of like making stories and how scary that was back then. And now it's like, pff, who am I without my stories? Or who am I without my hair? Or who am I without taking a trip and like going abroad and taking a risk? And y'all, I'll be honest, I am terrified of how much my life is changing in so little time. Like if I told you the amount of things that are happening at once, that are like days apart, weeks apart, months apart, like the countdown is on and there is no turning back the clock. And I'm so freaking excited, but I'm also having a lot of shitty days because when you're trying to process your entire identity, your entire who you think you've been or who you are for so long, like I'm having to let her die. And I look back at 2016 me and like she had to go through that death. You know, I had to lose my job. I had to lose my marriage. I had to lose who I thought were my friends at the time. But then I found a new job. I found new friends. I found a new me, new hair, new style. I lost weight. I started to travel more. I started making stories. I started being more bold, being less apologetic, taking more risk. Some of my decisions were not the best, but again, I had fun. I lived. I can honestly say 2016 changed my life for the better because I would not have this gorgeous, beautiful, curly head of hair had I not started back then. I would not be a life coach helping women overcome life transitions and grief and divorce if I had not allowed myself to fully break down and go through that process. I would not be as bold taking trips abroad solo like I did last year if I had not gotten on that plane in 2016 for the first time by myself. And it seems stupid, but I remember 2017, which is a 1 year, like this year is about to be. Y'all, I took so many trips. I would go to work and Friday after work, I would get on a flight and I'd be back Monday morning. And I remember going to Chicago. I think I went to Chicago like 12 times, at least that year. I remember going to Florida. I remember flying to Atlanta. I remember going to California, my friend's wedding, meeting people in Malibu. Like so many magical things have happened in my life because I was willing to take those risks. And I'm watching myself do it all over again in real time. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying I'm not breaking down because y'all, the last few days have sucked. When I said I almost ended up at the ER twice, it's not just physical pain, it's also emotional. A lot is changing. It's also my condo being sold and things that I'm having to take steps on. And like, my life is so forget unpredictable. I don't even know where I'm going to be a month from now, 3 months from now. I just know that I'm moving on faith. But when I look back at 2016, I'm actually so happy that it's trending and that I looked back because it just validated for me that like I was built for this shit. I've done this before. I can do it again. This is just a new level. But let me show you some of my little plate pieces from memory lane. Number one, the first time I wore my hair curly, I'm gonna put like a little clip of it right here somewhere. And the first time I made stories, you remember those filters that were on like Snapchat back in the day, like the little flower crown and the dog filter? Okay, that's the best I can do. I don't know how to like talk and share at the same time. But y'all, where my story started, I was talking about Starbucks in my coffee order. If anybody, because I have people here that have known me for a decade or longer, do y'all remember when I used to like drive to work and talk about my coffee order and traffic and how I was late all the time and oh, I'm taking another trip and I'm doing this? That is literally where this started. And now, as a life coach, I'm like giving people advice and guidance and doing TikToks and talking about astrology and human design, and you could do it too. And now I'm going to pivot to what I'm doing, which is changing my entire life, being a digital nomad, like actually stuff that's like valuable for someone else, or that inspires someone else or that gets somebody to believe that it's possible for them too. But back then in 2016, my life was so small. All I could talk about was my coffee order and going to work and drinking with my friends and going on dates. I started using Tinder back then, and I like remember getting so much judgment from friends at the time, being like, ugh, Jordy, nobody cares. Y'all, I used to get over 150 views per day on my stories. Back then, when one person would be like, nobody cares, 150 people were like, oh my God, there's Jordy. And I made connections that way and like bonded deeper with people and shared pieces of myself and helped people feel seen. And then I started to realize like there was a purpose for this. In 2016, I had no idea. But in 2026, I'm so comfortable in front of the camera. I'm so comfortable doing this and doing stories and talking to people and being myself and sharing myself. Thank God I started then. In 2016, wearing my hair was like, ugh, I'm ugly. Now I wear this like a crown. I love my hair. Like curly is so much better than straight. Not because it's good or bad or right or wrong, but because this is me. This is all of me. But again, 2016 me had no idea. Anyways, I just wanted to go down memory lane for myself, but also share it. One, because I can save my stories. I just like it. But two, because you should do the same thing. I actually want to challenge you to go back and look at your 2016 photos and videos and albums and like remember where you were in life. Remember how you thought, how you behaved, how you carried yourself. 9 times out of 10, you've probably grown leap years from that person. If you haven't, maybe this is your wake-up call that you need to take the risk, do the thing, move on purpose. Take it from me. I'm scared, but I'm still doing it anyways. I don't know the plan, but I'm still gonna go for it. Like in a few months, my life is going to look unrecognizable, but it did too a year ago. It also did 2 years ago. It also did 3 years ago. Like this is just how I live now. But in 2016, it was the first big push from life to be like, oh shit, this is really happening whether I want to or not, right? Don't wait till life forces you to change or move or take a risk. Do it by choice. Anyways, I'm gonna share some clips of like the ones that stood out that were like me talking about my coffee or even happy Friday or whatever. I don't know. I might add some stuff, but I needed this today. And I feel so complete and so at peace and so grateful for, thank you Tina, by the way, for this reminder to revisit 2016. Look back at where you came from a decade ago and look at where you are right now. I'll be honest, this has inspired me to make a video. I'm actually going to do this on TikTok after this, but where I am now, January 2026, because January 2027, I don't even know what country I'm going to be on. I don't even know what I'm going to look like. Y'all, there's so much happening with my health that even my appearance is going to change a lot. Me traveling the world is going to change me fundamentally. Like, I don't know who I am on the other side of that, but I can't wait to introduce you to her. Like, how cool is that? Like, you know what? Stick around or don't. But this life, the one that I was given, like, I'm doing this shit on purpose. You know, I'm like moving on purpose, taking the risk on purpose. And if you want to watch, I like to share. This is fun for me. But even if you don't, I'm making this mean something. And I love being able to look back. So Jordy from the future, 2036 you or 2027 you, honey, this is where you are today. So we're recording this video so you can come back and see it. And if anybody's following along, if you got this far, I love you. Holy shit, you guys. What an awesome, awesome moment to come back to myself. I think I needed this little boost of hope or joy or gratitude even to like see how much I've already overcome and like how what's in front of me is not that deep in comparison. I'm excited. I'm excited for what's ahead, and I can say with full confidence, I'm so fucking proud of 2016 me. I'm proud of every version of me, but 2016 me, she did that. So anyways, shutting up now. I know this got long. I may share some clips, we'll see, but I feel so happy tonight. That literally took me from like where I was energetically to like a 10 because it renewed my excitement for like, I got shit to do. Let's tackle this. Let's get in front of it. And we're not fighting the breakdown. You know, surgery sucks, but I got to go through it. Tooth extraction tomorrow sucks, but I got to get through it. Divorce also sucked. Starting over sucked. Getting fired sucked. But y'all, 2016 brought me so many blessings. 2026 is about to be epic. If you didn't know about my move, I'm sorry that this is the way you had to find out if you got this far. If not, I guess I'll tell you in a conversation someday. But yeah, happy Thursday, y'all.